If your life seems suspended in the air, as if you were in the middle of an unexplained void, know this: you are not lost. You are at the exact point where the quantum vacuum begins to prepare your awakening. The silence you feel is not absence. It is not failure. It is not abandonment. It is the portal that announces the leap that has already begun to form within you. This void is not sterile, it is fertile. It is the invisible field where all possibilities await the right moment to emerge. Think of it as the blank canvas before the painting, the silent measure before the music, the cosmic womb where new realities are gestated. It is in this seemingly empty space that the universe plots its greatest creations. And if you feel that everything is stagnant, that relationships have distanced themselves, that old desires have lost their sparkle, that strange dreams are starting to cross your nights, do not be alarmed. It is not a coincidence. These are clear signs that your consciousness has already entered the vacuum, and that this vacuum is recalibrating who you are. Mystics of all ages spoke of the sacred pause before manifestation. Spiritual tradition has always understood that silence is more powerful than noise, that waiting is more fertile than haste, that the void is more full than what is believed to be full. You are living this moment. The universe, in its infinite intelligence, is rearranging the pieces of your reality. It's as if your life has been interrupted in a deep breath. You have inhaled, but you have not yet exhaled. You are in the space between what was and what will be, and it is precisely in this in-between, this sacred interval, that the quantum leap is prepared. You may feel loss, but you are actually being purified. You may feel isolated, but you are actually being realigned. This feeling of suspension, of being between worlds, is the unequivocal sign that the old timeline is dissolving and the new one is waiting for your vibrational confirmation. The void is the field of pure possibilities, awaiting your resonance, your decision, your vibration. Before we continue, if this message is already making sense to you, subscribe to the channel, like the video and comment. This strengthens your energy and helps to expand this transmission. This call is for you to understand. There is nothing wrong with feeling stuck. This silence is not defeat, but preparation. It is like the archer who pulls the arrow back before the shot, like the wave that recedes before it hits the sand with force, like the darkest night that precedes the sunrise. Everything you feel right now is just the quantum field adjusting your frequency. It is happening both within and outside of you, and when you least expect it, this void will reveal itself as the portal of your recreation. You need to understand that the quantum vacuum is not an empty space. On the contrary, it is saturated with potential. In it rests the primordial energy that sustains all things, the invisible matrix from which every reality is projected. What seems like silence, absence, or neutrality is, in fact, a pulsating, vibrant, and fertile field. Imagine the cosmic womb, the universal belly where invisible seeds are being nurtured. There, no form is yet visible, but all forms are already possible. So too is the quantum vacuum. It is not about absence, but an infinite reservoir of new timelines ready to be collapsed. It is the space where creation breathes before it is born. The vacuum is like the pause between inhalation and exhalation. In that silent instant, you are neither receiving nor giving, just sustaining life in suspension. It is at this neutral point that the force that will soon unfold into movement is concentrated. The same happens in your life. The void you experience is not inertia. It is a condensation of power. It is also like the blank canvas before the painting. The artist does not see it as nothing, but as an unlimited space where any image can emerge. The quantum field looks at you in the same way, not as someone stagnant, but as a work about to gain new colors, new forms, new dimensions. In practical life, the vacuum manifests as uncomfortable silences, that pause where nothing seems to happen, the project that doesn't advance, the relationship that dissolves, the future that seems covered in fog. But it is in this apparent nothing that the new order is being gestated. What your mind interprets as death is merely a process of preparation for new life. The field never takes away without first preparing something greater. When you find yourself stripped of certainties, of bonds, of routines that once gave you security, it is because the energy that sustained those structures no longer corresponds to your new frequency. Space is needed for the new vibration to be installed. This space is the vacuum. You are not facing an end, but the matrix of a beginning. Just as the seed needs the darkness of the earth to germinate, you also need the quantum silence for the new reality to break the surface. It is in this invisible soil that the miracle begins to be woven. The vacuum is not the absence of meaning, it is fertile space. It is the field offering you an infinity of timelines and asking, which one do you wish to collapse? Your inner state, your resonance, your vibrational decision are the brush that will draw the next phase of your existence. Therefore, do not fear the silence. It is the preparation of the symphony. Do not fear the void. It is the ground where the new harvest will be planted. The quantum vacuum is before you not as a threat, but as an invitation. It doesn't take the ground from under you. It offers you the space for flight. The field is waiting for your vibration to reorganize itself. And at this point, you are more powerful than you imagine because you are before the matrix of all possibilities. You are going through a process of dissolution. And although this may seem painful, it is, in reality, a sign that the quantum field has already begun to update your frequency. When a new timeline approaches, the old one no longer finds sustenance. What once made sense now seems empty. What was once familiar today sounds strange. What you once carried with ease now weighs like lead on your soul. This is why relationships, that seem solid, suddenly dissolve in silence. Not because you made a mistake, not because someone failed, but because the energy that sustained them no longer vibrates at your new frequency. It is as if the bridge that connected you to certain people has been removed, not to leave you alone, but to lead you to other paths, to new connections that already resonate with what you are becoming. Your career may no longer motivate you in the same way. Projects that once aroused enthusiasm now seem purposeless. It's as if the software that ran inside you has become outdated. The quantum field is installing a new version of your consciousness, and old habits simply don't run on this system anymore. This is not a bug, it is an update. Spirituality calls this liberation. You are not losing, you are being set free. The field does not remove anything from your life that still serves your expansion. Everything that slips from your hands at this moment is what cannot cross the portal of your new frequency with you. There is no way to carry dead weight into a new timeline. This dissolution can manifest in several ways. Friendships that naturally drift away, interests that simply stop attracting you, situations that once triggered attachment and now generate no reaction. Even the body begins to signal, rejecting practices, foods, or environments that no longer align with the new vibration. Metaphorically, it is like a river that stops flowing in a dry bed and begins to carve a new course. The water is not lost, it is seeking a more fertile, more alive path. So too is your energy, shifting from what has dried up to flow towards what can flourish. This process of dissolution is often misunderstood by the linear mind. It insists on holding on to what it knows, even when there is no life there anymore. But the quantum field works in silence, and when something falls apart, it is because a new possibility is already waiting for you. The void you feel is not abandonment, it is cleansing. The feeling of loss is not punishment, it is liberation. You are not being punished, you are being prepared. The field is emptying your hands so that you can receive the new without distractions, without burdens, without residues of what no longer corresponds to your frequency. Therefore, do not mourn what dissolves. Give thanks. Because every bond that breaks, every cycle that ends, every pattern that dissolves is, in reality, making space for your new identity to flourish. The field has already registered your expansion and is merely removing what has no place in your new vibration. This is the dissolution of the old frequency, not the death of who you are, but the release of everything that cannot cross the portal of recreation with you. When the quantum field begins to reorganize within you, one of the first manifestations is emotional oscillation. You may find yourself one day full of confidence, clarity, and strength, and the next plunged into doubts, uncertainties, and even tears. This alternation does not mean regression nor spiritual instability. On the contrary, it is a sign that your consciousness is transitioning between states, in superposition, like quantum particles that exist in multiple possibilities before collapsing into a new reality. It is natural for your mind to seek predictability. The human brain has been trained to recognize patterns, to create a sense of security in repetition. But when the field begins to expand its boundaries, the mind fights to stay in what is familiar, even if the familiar is already in ruins. It is in this friction that emotional oscillations are born. You are saying goodbye to one frequency, and at the same time, already feeling the call of the next. Think of a pendulum. Before it finds its point of balance, it swings from one extreme to the other, accumulating energy until it aligns in the center. So too are you. Every oscillation is proof that your energy is moving towards alignment. There is no mistake in this process, only movement. The field is pulling you towards the new vibration, and the mind, still stuck in the old frequency, tries to resist. Another powerful metaphor is that of waves collapsing in the sea. They advance, recede, break, mix, until, suddenly, they find their resting place on the sand. This back and forth is not confusion, it is the language of the ocean. So too are your emotions. Advances and retreats that indicate a new way of being is about to emerge. Many times you ask yourself, why do I feel so much certainty one moment and so much doubt the next? The answer is simple and profound. You are navigating two timelines at the same time. You are detaching from the old one, but you have not yet fully collapsed into the new one. This overlap is uncomfortable, but it is also the seal that your transformation is already underway. Emotional oscillations are like tuning examinations. When you feel enthusiasm and confidence, the field shows you what it's like to be aligned. When you feel fear and insecurity, the field shows you the residues of the old frequency that still need to be released. Every rise and fall is precious information about where your energy is and where it needs to go. Therefore, do not blame yourself for feeling unstable. It is not failure, it is proof of progress. It is the living demonstration that you are not stagnant, but in deep motion. These oscillations are the last echoes of the old frequency trying to hold on, while the new identity is already beginning to take shape. Accept your oscillations as part of the process. Allow yourself to feel both confidence and doubt, both clarity and confusion. They are not enemies, they are signs. Every oscillation is a reminder that the field is alive, working, recalibrating your frequency. In the end, just as the pendulum finds its balance and the waves find the shore, you too will find your stability. And when that happens, you will realize that every oscillation was just a necessary step for your new reality to be able to anchor within you. When you cross the silence of the vacuum, your linear mind may interpret all of this as failure. It looks at the void and sees nothing but absence. But the quantum field, which is not limited by the mind's limited vision, sees preparation. What seems like stagnation is, in fact, the accumulation of energy needed for the leap. This is the spiritual calling in the middle of the void. It is as if a subtle, almost imperceptible voice echoes within you, reminding you that there is a greater purpose happening. This voice does not shout, does not demand, does not pressure. It calls softly, like a breeze that brushes the face, like a whisper that only those who are silent can hear. Think of the archer pulling the arrow back. The tension of the string may seem like a setback, but it is precisely the movement that accumulates the force for the shot. So too are you. The more you feel the tension of waiting, the greater the power of the leap that is about to happen. The void is not a setback, it is a strategic retreat. Imagine a conductor who raises his baton before the orchestra. Before the music begins, there is a deep silence. This silence is not empty. It is the announcement of the symphony that is about to be born. The same thing happens in your life. The silence you feel is the sacred pause that prepares the initial measure of a new existential melody. Or visualize a diver who descends into the depths of the ocean. He needs to go through a period of decompression before returning to the surface. Otherwise, his body would not withstand the abrupt transition. In the same way, you need this period of silence and tension. It is the spiritual decompression that ensures your new identity emerges in fullness, without ruptures, without damage. This spiritual call in the middle of the void is also a test of trust. The field asks, can you believe even without seeing? Can you remain even without understanding? Can you trust even when everything seems silent? It is in this invisible test that your faith expands, that your resilience is strengthened, that your essence is consolidated. The void is not punishment, it is an invitation to trust in the invisible, to hear the inaudible, to see what has not yet manifested. It is in this space that your spirituality grows, not based on easy answers, but on the profound trust that there is a purpose in every pause, in every silence, in every apparent delay. You may feel that nothing is moving, but behind the invisible veil, everything is being gestated. The field does not manifest in the noise of urgency, but in the silence of preparation. It works subtly, almost imperceptibly, until suddenly, everything is revealed with clarity. If you are at this point now, know this. This spiritual call is real. The void is proof that something is being prepared. The tension you feel is not the end. It is the accumulation of energy for the creative explosion that is to come. Therefore, stay. Resist the temptation to give up in the silence. Embrace the pause as an essential part of your recreation. The spiritual call that echoes in the middle of the void is the guarantee that you are already being led to your quantum leap. The quantum leap you so much hope for does not usually manifest in flashes or spectacles. It rarely arrives accompanied by fireworks or thunderous signs. The true transition happens in silence, almost unnoticed, like the dawn that breaks the night little by little, painting the horizon without making a sound. It is in softness that the new state anchors within you. Suddenly, what was once a constant restlessness disappears without warning. The anxiety that seemed to be your daily companion dissolves like mist in the sun. Situations that occupied your mind, that sucked your energy, lose importance. The weight you were carrying doesn't announce its departure. It simply stops being on your shoulders. This silent arrival of the new state also reveals itself in relationships. People who vibrated at different frequencies begin to naturally drift away, like boats following different currents in the same sea. You don't have to push or cut. The quantum field itself adjusts the flow, leading each being to the timeline that corresponds to them. This is how friendships, environments, and connections rearrange themselves effortlessly. The field works with invisible precision. Just as nature never forces the seed to break through the earth with violence, but conducts the process with patience and softness, your life also flourishes in this serene rhythm. The new state does not arrive by imposing, it arrives by inhabiting. It does not shout, it settles in. And it is precisely this naturalness that confirms that the leap has already occurred. Because when the new state arrives, it doesn't demand explanations or demonstrations. It simply is. You start to act differently without realizing it, to respond in another way without effort, to feel in a new way without planning. The transformation has already happened, and now it is only revealing itself in your daily life. Subtle examples begin to multiply. The environment that was once heavy no longer affects you in the same way. Words that once hurt no longer find an echo in you. Choices that were once difficult now seem obvious. All of this without you having to force anything. It is the field's signature manifesting in your new frequency. This process may seem too discreet for the mind, which expects great milestones, but spirituality knows it is in the small, the subtle, the almost imperceptible that true change solidifies. Because the field does not seek spectacle, it seeks alignment. It does not wish to prove anything. It only wishes for you to become what you already are in essence. Therefore, do not underestimate the silence. It is the vehicle of arrival. Do not despise the softness, for it is in it that the new reality anchors itself. You do not need grandiose signs to confirm your transformation. Your own lightness is already the proof. The silent arrival of the new state is like the sunrise. You don't have to make it happen. It happens, inevitably, when the time comes. And your time has already begun to reveal itself. The quantum field does not speak with shouts, but with subtleties. It does not announce itself in noise, but in discrete signs that only those who are awake can recognize. And these signs begin to multiply in your life when the leap is already underway. They are codes, clues, memories, left by your future self so that you do not get lost on the way. One of the most common signs are vivid dreams. Maybe you have dreamed of places you have never visited, but which seem familiar, or of people who bring symbolic and powerful messages. These dreams are not just loose images from the mind. They are transmissions from the field, revealing timelines that have already begun to approach you. It's as if your subconscious is the screen through which the future sends glimpses of what is being gestated. Another sign is synchronicity. How many times do you look at the clock and see repeating numbers? 11:11, 22:22, 03:33. Or you hear a phrase that answers the exact question you were carrying in silence. Or you meet someone at the exact moment you needed that presence. These coincidences are not random. They are alignments. The field organizes circumstances so that you remember you are in the flow. People are also vehicles for these signs. Someone appears in your life and without realizing it, opens a door to the next phase. A casual conversation awakens a response in you that was already ready to emerge. An unexpected meeting becomes the key to a cycle. The field uses each being as part of its invisible orchestra, tuning your frequency through seemingly simple connections. The field also communicates through what repeats. When you start to notice patterns, symbols, words, numbers, images, do not ignore them. They are marks, traces left by the field to guide your steps. The more you perceive, the more it manifests, because your attention is the invitation for synchronicity to continue expanding. These signs are not intended to impress, but to confirm. They remind you that you are not alone, that the new timeline is already anchored, and that your future self is already sending light from where you have not yet arrived. They are like milestones on the road, ensuring that the path is being followed. The field does not speak in haste, but in delicacy. It does not reveal itself in chaos, but in subtlety. Therefore, you need sensitivity to capture the signs. Those who live in the noise of the world rarely notice them, but those who become silent, who make space to listen, begin to see these messages in every detail. It is not about obsessively seeking signs, but about being available to receive them. They arrive when you are in resonance, when your frequency already aligns with what is being manifested. The more aligned you are, the clearer they become, and the more confidence you gain that the leap is already happening within you. These signs are like small rays of light passing through the cracks of a closed door. They announce that the new state is already on the other side, about to open. It is up to you to recognize them, welcome them, and let yourself be led. Before the definitive transition happens, the quantum field presents what can be called the final examination. It is not about punishment, but about vibrational confirmation. It is as if the field is saying, "Show me who you are now. Prove to yourself that the old frequency no longer has dominion over you." This examination almost always arises through old triggers, Problems you thought you had overcome may suddenly return. Financial issues that seemed resolved reappear. Relationships that had already lost their meaning try to rekindle old patterns. Situations that belong to the past reappear, not to trap you, but to test the firmness of your new identity. It's as if the universe places a mirror of what once was before you, so that you yourself can decide if you still vibrate at that frequency, or if you are ready to move on. Each of your reactions is a choice, each response, a declaration, each decision, a wave collapse that defines which timeline your energy settles into. Think of a student before the final exam. The content is not new, it is the same that has already been taught, but the test exists to verify if the knowledge has been integrated. The same thing happens with you. The old scenarios do not return because you have regressed, but because you need to prove to yourself that the transformation is real. This final examination can be uncomfortable as it awakens old memories and emotions, but see this: if it is coming back, it is because you are already ready to win. The field does not place anything before you that is not within your ability to overcome. It does not present you with a challenge to knock you down, but to seal your frequency. In these moments, you may feel the temptation to react as before, with fear, with anger, with despair, with flight, but that is where the opportunity lies. The field observes your vibration, and when you respond in a different way, when you act in alignment with the new identity, the field registers this choice. It understands. Now you are this. This final examination does not last forever. It comes as a checking wave, and as soon as you demonstrate consistency, the old frequency dissolves for good. It is like the last shadow before dawn, the last silence before the sound, the last squeeze before the release. Therefore, do not fear when old situations reappear. Do not interpret this as a setback. On the contrary, see it as a sign of advancement. The field is just certifying that you are ready. Every time you respond with maturity, with confidence, with faith, you reinforce your new vibrational signature. And remember, this final examination is not about proving something to the universe. It is about proving to yourself that the transformation was not fleeting, but permanent. It is the field giving you the chance to confirm who you have decided to be. By crossing this test, you not only close the door to the old timeline, but seal your definitive entry into the new one. It is at this point that the quantum leap is consolidated, and your life begins to reflect, without return, the vibration of your new identity. There comes a moment when the field is no longer just testing you, but registering your new signature. This is where the integration of the new identity happens. It is not about proving anything to the universe. It is not about showing strength or resistance. It is simply about being. The vibration you sustain becomes natural, effortless, without pressure, without the need for affirmation. When this integration begins, you realize that you no longer need to force attitudes. They flow spontaneously. Your responses to challenges are not rehearsed, but organic. Your new frequency has already been incorporated into your way of existing. You don't think about how to act, you act. You don't plan how to react. You simply respond in alignment with what you have already become. New values settle within you. What was once a priority no longer finds space, while things that were previously unnoticed now shine with clarity. Life seems to rearrange itself around higher principles, and this change does not come from the outside, but from within. No longer seek validation, because validation is born from the silent certainty that you are in resonance with who you are now. This integration also manifests in your daily choices. You naturally prefer environments, people, and experiences that feed your new vibration. It is not an effort, it is instinct. The field has already registered the change, and your energy leads you, like a river that naturally finds the right bed to flow through. The metaphor of breathing explains this process well. You don't have to think about how to breathe. You simply breathe. In the same way, The new identity does not require conscious effort. It simply expresses itself in everything you are, say, feel, and decide. It is a state of being that has stabilized, and the most impressive thing is the naturalness. The old version of you no longer finds space. It did not disappear with a fight, but dissolved like mist before the light. The new has become so real that the old seems like a distant dream. You look back and almost don't recognize yourself because the frequency you were sustaining is no longer part of your field. This is the point where you understand that the process was never about conquering something external, but about aligning with what has always been within you. The quantum leap did not bring something from the outside. It only revealed the power that was already yours, but which was dormant. In integration, you become the living proof that the quantum field responds to vibration. Your life is transformed into a silent testimony, an evidence that it is possible to transition from one reality to another just by internal realignment. You don't just talk about change, you are the change. This state is not final, but it is solid. It becomes the foundation on which new expansions will still come. But from here on, you no longer live oscillating between old and new frequencies. You have settled, you have integrated, and when someone looks at you, they will feel the difference. Not by what you say, but by what you emanate. Because the new identity does not need to be explained. It vibrates, and that vibration is enough to transform everything around it. Now that we have gone through each stage, it is time to understand the greater meaning of everything you have lived. The vacuum that once seemed like a desert was not the end, but the portal. The dissolution of the old frequency was not loss, but liberation. The emotional oscillations were not failures, but adjustments of the field. The silence was not abandonment, but the measure before the music. And the gentle arrival of the new state was proof that the leap was already inscribed within you from the beginning. The quantum field does not move in spectacle, but in resonance. It responds to your vibration, to your choices, to your being. Every vivid dream, every synchronicity, every final test was a reminder that you were already being led. Nothing was a coincidence. Every detail was part of the great alignment. And now, before the integration of your new identity, it is time to declare to the universe who you are. Because every word, every gesture, every affirmation is a wave collapse, a seed cast into the fertile field of possibilities. Therefore, declare without fear, I declare my quantum awakening. Write this in the comments, share this vibration, not just as a phrase, but as a vibrational decree. Because every time you declare, the field registers it. Every time you take a stand, your timeline solidifies. This is the moment to engage not just with your words, but with your energy. If this message resonated with you, strengthen that frequency. Subscribe to the channel, like the video, comment. Each of your actions is not just support, but also a vibrational confirmation that you are saying yes to the call of the field. You are not just interacting with a video, you are interacting with the energy it carries. Breathe differently. Choose differently. Vibrate differently. The field has already registered your transformation. You are no longer in the void. You have crossed the portal. You are no longer trapped in the old. You have already become the new. Now it is just a matter of living what you already are. And when doubt tries to return, remember, you have already integrated the new identity. The leap is not yet to come. It has already happened.